All right, so we just pulled our driver's side Massif out of the box. Comes in this foam, and we removed our parts box. So I've got most of my hardware in my right hand and left here. So we're gonna go through all that. You can tell this is the driver because we've got two brackets on the left hinge side, and our carriage bolt holes all are towards the bottom. So hole, square, this is the bottom. So this is lower bracket, upper bracket, and our center bracket. It's gonna come in this foam, and we're gonna start our pre-assembly of our bracket now. And so what I recommend doing is you take this and lay it down onto its face. The kit comes inside the parts box right here with 3 brackets. The one with 2 bends, this is your center bracket. And then you've got 2 other brackets, small and big. Your big bracket is for the bottom, so big bottom. If you got both sides, you'll have 2 brackets that look like this. One has a notch and one does not. The notched one is for the driver's side. Those are now done for a few minutes. We're gonna take 2 3/8 carriage bolts and feed them through the bottom bracket 2 holes facing outward. Then you're gonna grab 2 of our what we call a push nut. They look like this. Grab one of these, get it lined up, and push it straight down until it bottoms out. We're gonna repeat it on the other side. And now we don't have to hold this while it's being installed. That guy is now done. For our upper bracket, we actually have an extra little piece. It's this little spacer, square shim spacer. I'm gonna take our 3/8 carriage bolt and install it onto our spacer first. And this is gonna go into the top hole. And now we have to determine which of these 2 holes it goes in. So when we're looking at our Massif here, bottom is down here, top is up there. We're gonna install this bracket in this orientation. Like that. This goes on the top hole. So we're gonna put it here. So our spacer shim and that. And then we're gonna repeat the same process of putting our push nut on. And then the lower bolt goes in just like all the others. Done. We're now gonna install our brackets to the Massif. So you've got a small Loctite, individual Loctite serving here. We're gonna use those to put some Loctite on our 3/8 bolts. In this case, I'm actually just gonna use a bulk bottle, and we just need a drop. That's plenty. Start that in through, grab our nut. I like to actually place the nut behind, put the bolt in, and then start the bolt. Repeat the process for the second bolt. We're not actually getting it fully tight, we're just getting it started. And then we'll repeat the process on the bottom and center. If, for instance, you oops and get a whole bunch onto a bolt, you can take the second bolt and roll it around and get some on both. Get a little too much, oops, and transfer it onto the second bolt. Alrighty, we're gonna leave the center one nice and loose, and we're gonna start with tightening up just the top and bottom. I like to just make sure this is flush on both sides. Grab my 7/32 Allen. Again, we're gonna repeat the process by making sure this is nice and flush. If you need it, you can use a 9/16 box open wrench on the backside to hold the nut while you tighten it in. We've now finished installing both lower brackets completely. The center bracket still has a little bit of play. We're gonna leave that as is. And we're gonna take this out of the foam and go install it on the van. Today we're gonna go over how to use our drill template, which allows you to mount our Massif on the driver's side. First thing we're gonna do is open up passenger door. We're gonna take a number 2 Phillips and we're gonna remove the 2 screws holding the badge in place. We actually just finished doing that, so the screws are right here and it's still held on. Just give it a bit of a hit and it'll fall off. Now you're gonna take our template. You'll notice it has 2 small notch grooves and it has 2 square holes and 2 round holes. You're gonna take the 2 carriage bolts, place them into the square holes, lightly put them on here, and you're gonna take our 2 serrated nuts and just very lightly get them started. All right, so this can still move, and that's what we want. In fact, you want it so that it'll move, but is got a little bit of resistance. So right about there, just like that. We're gonna close the door. And now you're gonna use these 2 notches as a guide so that we get square from here to here. Doesn't necessarily have to line up perfectly, but we do wanna be square. So once it's square, just like that, we're gonna open the door up again, take a 7/16 and tighten each of these until they're snug so this doesn't move again. You're gonna close the door, take the 3/8 drill that we provided, and you're gonna drill out both of these holes. Once that is done, you're gonna have 2 holes here. We just finished setting this one, so this is what it's gonna look like when it's complete. Once the holes are finished, I recommend wearing a glove. I'm right-handed, so I hold my gun in my right hand, put left-handed glove. I'm gonna take our black 1/4-20 bolt, feed it through one of these holes, either one. One is slightly bigger, I usually use the smaller. And we're gonna get this started in our plus nut while it's in our hand. And then you'll pop this into the door, and you're gonna use a 3/8 impact to tighten it until it is fully set. It'll pretty much stop rotating when it's set. Back this guy out and repeat the process on the top hole. At that point, should look like this. You do have the option, we did on this one, before we set these plus nuts, we painted the inside of the drilled out holes. Now when we go to mount our Massif on the driver's side, these are our 2 hard points right here in the center of the van. Installing on the driver's door, we're gonna get it open. We're gonna take our little eyeglass washer. It's got a little point on one side, and we're gonna stab it over into the side, like so. And then we're gonna keep our lower washer, looks like this, just close by. You're gonna take 4 of these flange nuts and just have them at the ready. Your partner is now gonna stab the upper bolts first. Once the up bolt is in, you're gonna get one started. You can get the second one started. And then you're gonna grab that washer we left nice and close, get it started. And then we're gonna move over to the center. Here we're gonna put in our 2 1/4-20 by 1 serrated flange bolts. Put a little bit of Loctite. Too much. Transfer it onto the other. And we're gonna get this bracket started. The reason we left this loose is it gives us just that little bit of adjustment that we might need in order to make sure that our center bracket is properly lined up. And then you will finish tightening the center bracket first. You can use an impact to start these in. I still recommend you grab a hand tool or a torque wrench and actually torque these down. I stepped back and forth a couple times without going full depth on either of them to make sure that I wasn't seating the bracket crooked, because it's gonna seat in. The aluminum is gonna contour just slightly so that it fits. Gonna check our brackets back and forth a little on each one. Make sure that they're all tight. With all the other brackets now tight, we need to finish what we left loose, which is these two here. And with that last bracket, we have now completed our driver's Massif install. If your kit came with the early stops, or you need to install them, they're gonna replace these two existing bump stops. You will now go ahead and we've got a separate video you can watch on how to install those.